Howdy doody, everybody. That's what I say now.
Ew.
I'm a cowboy. I say howdy doody. Yep.
Well, this has been a good run.
Yeehaw, baby.
And Caitlin out.
That's Caitlin, and I'm Andrew.
Hi.
I'm the number one cowboy west of the Mississippi.
What is wrong with you?
I don't know. I just... something broke in my brain just now.
What just happened?
Yeah.
I'm Caitlin. I'm normal for the most part.
That's definitely debatable.
Well, compared to Howdy Doody over there.
Howdy doodies, the new hot stuff. It's verbal wildfire.
Speaking of duty.
Oh no.
I learned poop in sign language.
Yeah.
Because I had from necessity.
Yeah. And I liked how you didn't know how to say, you didn't know how to say big, and then I guess you just like...
Hold your arms
you
open?
just throw your arms open, basically, and it was like, yeah, it's pretty close.
He wasn't big. I don't know what big is, but this...
Or
a lot is like you hold your hands and your arms open. Don't ask why. Don't ask questions. You don't need to know. Why I need to know that?
Yeah, don't worry about that one.
Don't worry about it.
I think it's better that I was talking about being a cowboy for pretensies than what you're talking about now.
You're probably...
That's my opinion.
You're probably right. Don't even worry about it.
Yeah. So I was listening back to the last episode. Because we got an angry comment on a place. Don't worry about where.
We did.
Nobody don't seek it out. It doesn't matter. It's not. Yeah. It's fine.
It was a comment. I read it and I was like, ooh, that's the first, I feel like the first like really negative feedback we've had.
Yeah.
But I'm not bashing it because it came
there was
from
enough truth.
Yeah. It came from a decent place, and that's how we learn and grow.
To start with, they called me an idiot, which is 100% on the mark. That
wasn't nice.
Let me tell you, as a pretend cowboy, that was some gunslinging that was just on the mark. Bullseye all day, every day. But basically it was just they're mad at me because of my reaction to the idea of Heath Stocks getting out of prison.
Yeah.
Which I assume if he got out, he'd probably go to like an institution of some sort, at least for a while. I don't know.
I really don't know if you'd have to go to like a halfway house or something like that to reintegrate back into society. Or have some kind of like men's living where you'd have to be monitored.
Get some sort of like mental health potentially. You would
almost
think.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, I just remember I saw the comment. And I was like, what did I say? Because I didn't really remember.
Yeah.
And I listened back and I was like, man, I was like very dismissive of it in a way that is kind of crappy, in a way that I was not happy with myself.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up and point out that they were right. Rootin' tootin', gunslinging. they shot my hat off.
One fair and square.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be my thing. Is I feel like I was overly dismissive in a way that wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I felt kind of bad about that.
Yeah, and like we were saying, it's definitely it's a two-edged sword. I mean, you can kind of, do I think that Heath Stocks would have made the decisions he made had Jack Wallace not been in his life? No. If Jack Wallace hadn't been a monster to him, I think he could have gone into a very normal life. But like you said, you can say that about a lot of things. So it's not a good argument for legal reasons. That's not a good argument.
To some extent, maybe.
Yeah.
But
again, it's the cult mentality type thing. Like
there have been people in cults who have gotten off easier because they were very clearly manipulated in a way that and brainwashed, I think, is the term you used.
Yes, 100%.
In the podcast.
Yeah, and that's what I think. He saw. Oh, by the way, I do also want to make a correction. I didn't tell you about this either. The Order of the Arrow is an actual Boy Scouts affiliated, sanctioned group of the Boy Scouts. It's like an elite group of the Boy Scouts. However, Jack Walls did not use it as such. Jack Walls used it in a manipulative type setting. Like the boys that he groomed, he put into that. He chose to be in that group. Okay. So he did not use it as it's almost like a fraternity type thing within the Boy Scouts. That's how it was explained to me. So anyways, but Jack Wells definitely abused that, as you know, and I kind of had a discussion with John about this. John was a Boy Scout. It was a big part of his life, and he loved being in Boy Scouts. And so he's the one that kind of told me, like, Order of the Arrow is like a legit thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, Jack Walls didn't use it like that. And could the Boy Scouts have done things differently? Yes. But you could say that about a lot of things. I mean, and I asked John, I was like, well, why can't they just, like, do background checks on everybody that comes to be a part of, adults that come to be a part of the Boy Scouts, volunteers? He's like, who's going to fund that? And it's like, that's true, because those are expensive.
Even if you did, I mean...
And Jack Walls wouldn't have come back as anything.
Yeah, a lot of people would pass background checks.
Yes. So it's like, what do you do?
They're bad people. Because, I mean, he was, especially in that time frame, it would have been harder probably to figure out everything and link it all together.
Especially since technology wasn't exactly what it is now.
Yeah, and also the ball was dropped at different other points.
Right.
The institutions of, the state and such should have activated in a different way.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I felt like I dropped the ball on that.
Well, that's nice of you to bring that up. And anyway, but this could be discussed forever. It's such a exciting thing. It was actually the day that we dropped that episode, I believe.
It was either the day or day after.
The day after. It was I'm going back because I don't want to tell you wrong.
It's like one of the few times that we did the podcast fairly early, and it's like, whoops, maybe we shouldn't have.
Because it was the day we dropped the episode, because I was like, oh my gosh, like
Caitlin should have gotten stuck on a plane for this week.
Yeah, I should have. He stalks the day we dropped the episode. One of the Little Rock news stations posted this. He stalks, applies for reduced sentence, cites sexual abuse by former Boy Scout leader. And I was like, oh my gosh, we just talked about that. And I think that he should get at least a trial. He never had a trial because he pled guilty, but I think if a trial were to come about, I think he could have a reduced sentence, which I think could be justice, but others may disagree. So, I mean, anyway, I thought it was very interesting that happened. He appealed to Governor Hutchinson.
Better get that in quick before a new governor comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you get lucky with a governor who's sympathetic to your cause, but we'll see.
He asked for a reduced sentence of 40 years with the possibility of parole starting in 2025. So, yeah.
All right. You got anything else on that one?
No, I think that was... I'm sure I do, but we can go on.
Okay.
Because we have a doozy of a one this week.
We do have a pretty long one, I think. And
Andrew read a book for it.
I did read a book. It's not a super long book. Hold on. Let me...
What's the name of that book?
I put the name of the book at the bottom of my notes, so I have to scroll down there.
You can remember it?
It is called Daughter of the White River. Depression-Era Treachery and Vengeance in the Arkansas Delta by Denise Parkinson. It's a good book, worth checking out. There's a lot of detail in there that we will not cover because this would be a 4-hour podcast. Because it's not a super long book. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think 300 something pages roughly.
Still quite a bit.
But a lot of it is, there's like two separate chunks where there's a lot of pictures. So it's probably more closer to like 260, 250. Mm-hmm. So it's not super long.
Mm-hmm. I like books with pictures.
Yeah. You gotta have them pictures.
Keeps me...
Have you ever heard of comic books?
Or graphic novels?
I mean, if you want to be pretentious about it. I feel like graphic novel is just like, I want you to take the thing I like seriously.
Fancy comic book. Yeah. There is a Twilight graphic novel.
Comic book?
Graphic novel.
I just feel like, I think because maybe comic books have taken over all of entertainment now. Mm-hmm. Like nobody cares about saying graphic novel because they're like, oh, everybody takes it seriously. We don't have to pretend now.
No, it's graphic novel.
But so we're going to go from talking about Heath Stocks, a super sad thing, to a different, very super sad thing, as always, because that is what the show is about.
I'm ready.
So, as I said, this book that was called, whatever I said, it was called Daughter of the White River by Denise Parkinson. And it is about a woman named Helen Ruth Spence. Mm-hmm. Now, she was born on a houseboat on the White River.
That's in Searcy?
White River goes, it starts off in northwest Arkansas, goes up into Missouri for a bit, and then comes back down in North Arkansas near Mountain Home, and comes down and goes into eastern Arkansas into the Delta.
Okay.
So she was born in the Delta part, near a place called St. Charles.
Okay.
Closest, thing to a big town, it's not a big town, is DeWitt.
I know somebody from there.
Okay, so yeah,
Which is kind of surprising.
DeWitt is sort of kind of ish near, but so she was born on a houseboat. This is the time people used to live on houseboats on the White River. That's how they lived their lives. They would, they'd fish and stuff and all that stuff. We'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
So this is in Arkansas County, the oldest county in Arkansas.
Makes sense.
And it's bordered by the White River in eastern Arkansas. It's not a lot of people there. It's very agricultural.
Yeah.
Both historically and currently. And so her father was a man named Cicero Spence.
I love his name.
Yeah. And her mother was Ellen Woods. And
Elle Woods.
I guess that's right, yeah. Ellen Woods.
Oh my gosh. Like from Legally Blonde.
Yes, exactly like that.
Go ahead.
And as you know, somebody who lives out in the middle of nowhere on a riverboat, they would be just like her.
Very much so.
They would have so much in common, I'm sure. So Helen had an older sister named Edna.
Wait, what year are we?
So shortly before World War I is when she was born.
Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like, we don't know for sure.
For sure. Okay.
Records keeping back then was a little dicey.
Okay.
But so yeah, we can only guess. In fact, when we get later on into it, there's newspaper reportings where it'll be like 17 or 18. How old was she? We don't know because they're contradictory and sometimes from the same paper saying different things.
Okay.
She had a sister named Edna, nicknamed Edie.
Oh.
And she suffered from infantile paralysis.
What the heck is that?
Basically, she couldn't walk.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. That's what it was called in the book.
So basically, they just don't know why. At that point.
Yeah, they probably don't.
Okay.
Again, we're talking like the 19-teens here, essentially.
We're way back.
Oh, yeah. It's a very different America. Very different. Even that part of Arkansas is very different now than it was then.
Very much so.
We'll talk a little bit about that.
Okay.
But her mother passed away. I didn't see why or how, but she passed away when she was pretty young.
How old was Ellen?
Helen was pretty young.
Okay, Helen.
Yeah, she was pretty young, and her father would remarry a woman named Ada. So her stepmother, they would still be close and all that. Her father taught her to shoot and fish because that's what you needed to do when you lived in the middle of like rural Arkansas, especially back then.
Oh yeah, you still do in Arkansas.
I mean, you don't have to. Most people just choose to. And people who lived on the river, they were called the river people.
The river rats.
Wow. Why would you say that? That's very offensive.
Is it?
That was an offensive term.
Was it?
Yeah, they did not like being called river rats.
Why?
Because that's that's what a drylander would call them.
Oh.
To be mean.
Oh.
Like, get out of here. You don't belong here in DeWitt, you river rat.
Anybody belongs in DeWitt.
But yeah, there's actually a part in the book where it's like, don't call me a river rat.
Oh.
Yeah.
How about that?
Look at you.
Okay.
Just coming up with
I just know.
Horrible
Shut up. It's not that
epithets
bad.
just off the top of your head. You didn't have to work for that.
You know me.
You're just a bad person to the core, apparently. Can't believe you.
It's not nice.
And the work week was generally, so she would try to finish all her chores quickly because she wanted to go with her father to go check on the fishing traps and all that stuff with him.
Did they do this for money or was this like to survival?
I think it was both.
Okay.
Like you would do it for a little bit of money. Maybe
Gotcha.
if you had excess, which you rarely would, or you wouldn't have a lot necessarily.
I see.
So we'll talk about a little bit like mussel shelling. They would go out and get mussels and they'd shell them and they would sell the mussels because the mussels they use them for like buttons on clothes.
Really?
Back before plastic was a big deal.
Weird.
Oh yeah. So hopefully I'll remember to skip that bullet point later on.
Yes,
since
please.
I already talked about it.
Don't do it again.
And Saturdays they would either go to DeWitt, go into town, as you know when you live in the middle of nowhere, and go watch baseball games or horse races. And it didn't sound like it was a lot of the horse racing. Did not sound like it was fancy Oaklawn horse racing.
Oaklawn's nice.
It was more like, we have some horses. Let's race
Let's watch them race.
this part of the road to the other part of the road, and whoever wins gets a bottle of Coke.
It's like the chuck wagon races in Hardy, Arkansas. which I have been to.
It's very, probably even more informal than that. It just seems like it was like, because everybody needed a horse to get around back then. That's why back in the days of the old Wild West, horse thieving, that was an executable offense.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Watch a Western TV show for once.
Okay.
Gosh, watch some Gunsmoke.
Okay, maybe I will.
I literally watched that show quite a bit. A few summers ago. Not to bring us down, it was when my dad was going through his cancer treatments. He's fine.
He's fine.
But the place where they did his chemo, the TV was always like TV Land.
Yeah.
Not even TV Land. It was some other bootleg channel. And so I saw a lot of Gunsmoke and Bonanza.
Oh, yeah.
So I know all about them.
Nice.
I think Gunsmoke, that was a good show, actually. Like, legitimately, it holds up. Anyway.
Cool.
So, yeah, don't steal a horse.
Okay.
You will be hung. Oh. Or hanged, rather.
Hanged.
Hanged is correct.
We talked about that.
Sundays, that's for resting and worship. You go to church, and then
you hang out.
You hang out. And like every October, they had like a harvest festival, and it's called the Reunion. Everybody came around from the county, and they had a whole thing. So it's kind of like
revival, kind of?
No. Not like a revival. Not like a church revival, if that's what you're talking about.
You ever been to one?
I've heard stories, and I've been to things that seemed like a smaller version of that. So, they're in a very isolated part of the world. The book talks about how they didn't really know much about, say, the Roaring 20s.
Gotcha.
Because,
they're isolated.
They're in very, very small.
Worlds. 2 different worlds.
Yeah, that's for like Memphis and St. Louis.
Yeah.
That's not us. And the Jazz Age, that's not us. That's in New Orleans. That's somewhere else, a place I've only heard about.
Yeah.
And, they don't have TV and internet, so it's not like today where...
They're lucky if they have radio.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if they did at this point. But this is a part where it's like, I don't know. Like today, somebody could say, hear about a dance craze going on in like the Ukraine. And then
the Ukraine?
Just anywhere. Literally
anywhere. You mean today? Okay.
Today. Like, okay. I think it happened in the Ukraine, and literally everyone in the world could see it. Yes. And it could be the new dance craze.
It was like when the lady, and I think it was Pyongyang or something like that, the dance instructor had the coup going on behind her. And
Not Pyongyang.
Oh.
It was in, I don't know.
Myanmar.
Yeah. I can't think of the city, but yeah.
Sorry. I don't know. That's not nice.
Pyongyang's in North Korea.
Okay. Oh, not there. Not there.
Pyongyang?
No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Myanmar. Right?
Yeah. I can't think of what the capital city is called there now.
Yeah. So anyway, she was just doing her little dance instructor video, and she caught the coup behind her.
Yeah. Also, fun fact, did you notice how big that road was and how wide it was?
Yes.
It's built that wide for that very purpose.
For coups?
For the military to go rolling down.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was built that way however long ago they built it.
That's pretty scary.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is scary living in a world where the military takes over and has a coup due to lies about voter fraud. Anyway, that doesn't sound like anywhere. That doesn't sound like something a lot of people wanted over in a place. Also, fun fact, they had a lot of immigrants in the area. Like, a lot of the older people were Italian and German immigrants.
Where?
In this part of Arkansas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They
We're back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not talking about the Ukraine or Myanmar of the modern day. We're back. We're back here.
They had a lot of immigrants.
Interesting. Yeah, because
they wanted to farm and
they wanted to get out of wherever they were and stuff like that. So yeah, mussel shelling. There's that part. Mm-hmm. And you had like one of the things you would do for shelling mussels. Sometimes you just get a boat. You just like
drag it.
Yeah, basically.
Drag a net or something?
Yeah, something like that. And other times you would just like go into the water in the shallow end and just kind of reach for them. Or another one, they would make a homemade diving helmet out of the gas tank of a Model T.
What?
Yeah. And some of the helmets, they had glass so you could like see. And some of them, they didn't. So you're just down there blind feeling around.
Oh, I don't like that. Yeah.
So like I said, they used mussel shells for buttons and all that. Also, you eat them. But you can't really do that anymore. They, modern day, the White River has been dammed a bunch of times,
Yeah.
and it's led to like the temperature changed, so like mussels are no longer there.
Good job, Arkansas.
Yeah, but it helped stop floods, I think, and also produce hydroelectricity. So, and it also talks about how a lot of disputes on the river would be solved by somebody getting tired of their neighbor, and they would just move their boat.
They would move their neighbor's boat?
They move their own boat. Like, okay, I'm done dealing with you.
Oh, okay.
I'm moving.
I like this. I like that idea.
But also, there was a thing called river justice. That was more like eye for an eye. Get out there and shoot somebody.
I don't like that.
River justice. That's what I'm going to name my child. River Justice.
What'd we say would be a good name for a cat? Biscuits? Mr. Biscuits?
Bucko.
Bucko, after the Buccaneers.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, anyway.
Bucko, Biscuit, Tater Tot,
Pot
Dirt
roast.
Bike, Pot Roast.
We got on the subject because on a TikTok there's a cat named Pot Roast and I lost it.
You know what? Another good one, now that I think about it, name it after one of our subjects, Jelly Bean.
Jelly Bean.
Yeah, good old Frank Jelly Nash.
I like that.
Jelly Bean, short for Jelly Bean.
Love it.
And, well, there's a reason they dammed up the river and stuff, and is for flood control. For instance, the Great Flood of 1927, where the Mississippi flooded real bad across the Delta.
Wait, Mississippi, that's the river you cross to go to get to Memphis, right?
Yes.
Just making sure. Big
Yeah.
river, very
That river is
turbulent.
gigantic.
Yes.
And it, like this area is like a little ways away, but the river flooded enough that it went a ways. The White River, which is what Spence and all them lived on, like flowed backwards for a while during that time.
Flowed backwards?
Flowed backwards.
Wow.
Yeah, there's some crazy natural disaster stuff that's just wild. Like the New Madrid earthquake. You read about how
Yeah.
like the Mississippi flowed backwards and how
Which is wild.
it was felt like all the way like on the East Coast.
Where is New Madrid? Missouri?
Yeah, it is in like southeastern Missouri.
So where my parents live.
Yes. The fun fact, whatever the arena is called now, the Convocation Center, it's named after a bank.
ASU?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a roof is designed to deal with earthquakes.
I have heard that. It's a very sturdy building.
Yeah, like fun fact, the reason that earthquake was so devastating in part
Yeah.
compared to say not to say earthquakes in California haven't been devastating.
Oh yeah.
But the reason this one was so devastating and went so far in part is because of how soft the ground is here compared to California. So like the shockwaves can go further through like
Muddy
dirt,
type water.
Yeah, through dirt and all that.
Muddy type land.
Yeah, compared to say mountains, which there are lots of in California. It's a lot rockier.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. You should have learned that at some point.
I'm learning a lot today.
Yeah.
Continue.
So like during this flood that was really bad, for instance, there was a houseboat that supposedly was abandoned and floated all the way to a little town called Yankopin, Arkansas.
Where the heck is that?
I don't know how to describe where it is. It's on the Arkansas River because it was known for being the only railroad bridge over the Arkansas River between Pine Bluff and the Mississippi River.
Oh my god,
This
I
is
think
not-
I've been there.
You probably haven't. It's not a real town anymore. But this houseboat floated all the way over there and like it ended up sticking there on dry land after a while.
Wow.
And that became their post office.
No, it didn't.
That's the legend. Local
has
legend
it.
holds.
Legend has it.
Yeah.
What's the town there now? Because I think I've been on that bridge.
I don't think there is like a real like proper town there.
Okay.
There might be people around, but it's not like an organized
Town. or
municipality,
township. Okay.
if you will.
All right.
So Helen Spence, she after she finished the 9th grade, she got married to a local boy named Buster Eaton, and they ran off.
Where'd they go?
I don't know, because the marriage didn't last, because it turned out he was a moonshiner, and she was not interested in that.
Whoops.
Yeah. This is the age of prohibition and all that.
Oopsie.
There's lots of moonshining.
He knew how to party.
Or make money and evade the law, hopefully. Summer of 1930s where we're going to come to.
Okay.
there's a thing called the Great Depression.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. There's a fun quote in there where it says, "Depression? Why, there's always a depression in Arkansas. Who can tell the difference?"
Wow.
Just
yeah.
That's like the quote.
Arkansas is very poverty stricken in many places.
Yeah, and if you want more detail, I'm not going to cover all of this, but there's lots of stuff about like how people were dealing with the depression, even in like other parts of Arkansas to some extent. There's a lot more detail in the book, so you can check that out. Because I'm not going to go into it because we'll be here forever. At this time, there were a lot more transients because people are traveling, trying to find any work or any food, anything they can.
Shanty towns
would have been popping up. But yeah, people would come through and just looking for work, looking for anything, looking for help. And there's also a drought on.
Oh, great.
This is also the age of the Dust Bowl.
Oh, my God.
It was a bad time.
Oh, kidding.
The crops withered away. They even had like fish and livestock ponds died because of the heat.
Holy cow.
Yeah. The White River, which is where they lived, was lower than usual, and it was actually closed off to barge traffic. So you couldn't
they couldn't go through.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And that's another reason why they dammed these rivers up, is
to get them to go.
Make sure the water stays at levels they can use.
Gotcha.
There's an anecdote in there where Helen's father talked about how the mussels were like exposed in the river, and they would just burst open from the heat.
Ugh.
And it was like,
and then you could just eat them straight from the shell.
Well, you would think so. You'd have to get there quick
because they go rancid.
Because the wild hogs of the area would get there first.
What?
Yeah.
It's a wild world.
It is. Wow. Things were different in 1930.
Wow.
Turns out.
Wow.
More different than you even would have imagined.
Yep.
When you dig into it, at least especially in like country areas. Maybe the cities are like, they're very different, but it's still like, it's not this different, I guess.
Right.
So one December morning in 1930, Helen's father goes out for a fishing trip with a man she's not familiar with named Jack. And Helen is woken up by her stepmother, Ada, and told to get dressed because her father forgot the food that Ada had prepared for him for this fishing trip where they're going to go and hopefully get some fish for eating or selling or whatever they're going to do. So they go out there on their little paddle boat, go up the river, and as they approached where Cicero and this Jack fellow were, they could hear what sounded like arguing. And Helen and Ada get there, and they hear a gunshot. Cicero falls. And the man says, this Jack fellow, he says, he wouldn't show me where the still money was.
Still? Oh, that's like a cash register.
Well, I was thinking like a, I don't know, like a moonshine still.
That's a till. Never mind.
And so then Jack pushed Cicero's body into the river.
No.
And basically pointed his gun at the two ladies there. Ada, the stepmom, she stands up and she says, "I'll show you where the money is." And says like, this girl is simple-minded. She doesn't know where the money's hidden. She doesn't saying Helen doesn't know, but I know, seemingly like to protect Helen.
Yeah.
So Jack gets Ada, pulls her over onto their boat, and takes the oars away from Helen's boat.
Well, that's just not nice.
I know. And then drives off because he has a motorized boat and just leaves her to drift on the river for a while.
Okay.
So Helen just floats down the river until some fishermen find her. And it seems that whatever hidden money there supposedly wasn't there. And at this point, Jack flies into a rage and beats Ada nearly to death.
Oh my gosh.
This Jack fellow, they would catch him pretty soon after. His name was Jack Worrells. And Ada would be sent to a hospital in Memphis. And Helen and her sister, the one who couldn't walk, Edie, they went up there and stayed by her side for weeks. Eventually, some distant cousins of theirs that they were like barely related to came from Chickasaw, Oklahoma, went to Memphis and took Edie because they're like, she can't walk and stuff, and this life is a little too rough and tumble for her. So they take her away. And, So after several weeks, though, Ada would die from her injuries on January 7th, 1931.
Did she like regain consciousness at all? And
It kind of sounds like she didn't, at
Wow.
least very much, if at all.
jeez.
So at this time, they got this Jack Rules fellow in custody, and like the sheriff commented at some point, he's like, I can't believe they haven't just taken care of him themselves, these river people with their river justice.
Hint, hint.
And so the day of the trial arrives. It's been pretty cold, like it snowed at some point during like around this time, which is pretty rare in this part of the country. There's tons of people at the courthouse. They say it seemed like all of Arkansas County was there. And so Helen arrives at the courthouse. She's in a car with some deputies, and she sat at the front of the gallery listening to the testimony for hours. And trial comes to a close. It's time for the jury to deliver a verdict. Jack Rolls stands up, and gunfire rings out.
What?
Helen had stood up and fired at Jack Rolls
What?
right before the verdict was going to be given.
Did she kill him?
She shot him 4 times
Wow.
and, yes, killed him.
Oh my gosh.
And the court, like, everybody, of course, is like
Split.
running away.
Yeah.
They're jumping through windows, the whole deal.
Bye.
Yeah. The sheriff, he's the first to approach her. He approaches her from behind, and she turns and almost shoots him
Ooh.
before she realizes who he is, because she was worried it might have been somebody else, I guess. And so she hands over the gun and follows him and the deputies to a side room. And the sheriff, he's got the gun, and he's trying to empty it of the rest of the bullets. And Helen says, "Let me help you." It tends to stick, and just grabs the gun, empties all the bullets, and puts them on the table. And like as she did that, it says the deputies all ducked for cover.
And she's just like, do. I know what it did.
Yeah, she's like, that's fine. I'm helping out. And her only statement, as published in the New York Times, was, "He killed my daddy." And that was why she did it.
Well,
Yeah. Her story became
did
very
he die?
famous. Yes, he died. She killed Jack Worrells.
she killed him dead.
Yep. And she became quite the subject for the newspapers, as you would imagine. She was given all kinds of nicknames or whatever. Here's a couple of them. One I say boo to, and the other I say, yeah, it's fine. Guess which one? There's Gun Girl and Swamp Angel.
Swamp Angel.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I don't like it. It sounds gross.
I love it.
It sounds like
It's purposely sounds gross.
I'm just imagining like a human shaped figure made of like algae with
Ugh.
wings.
Drippy, soaky,
Yeah.
muddy algae.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Swamps are nasty.
They are very nasty. They got alligators, not crocodiles.
Yeah, they got them gators and then all kinds of disease spreading mosquitoes.
Have you ever watched any of the gator shows?
Like what is it, like Cajun whatever?
Yeah, whatever it is.
Chewed them.
Well, the alligators they get are massive. Huge.
I've been on a couple fan boat tours. I know what's up.
Oh, have you?
Oh yeah,
I have
they're
not.
pretty fun.
I haven't.
I recommend them.
I saw an albino alligator at the New Orleans aquarium.
Ugh, weird.
There you go.
But yeah, the gators. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and also wild hogs running around.
Apparently so. Eating mussels.
Yeah, they normally wouldn't be able to get to them.
And they were like, this delicacy.
Yeah, gotta wait for the bad times to get the mussels.
And let them get steamed by the sun. Sun-steamed mussels.
So, Helen's facing charges of first-degree murder, as you would imagine.
Makes sense.
She was released into custody.
Wait.
What?
What was his sentence going to be?
We don't know.
They never released it? They never said?
No.
She ruined it. He got his justice in the end.
River justice.
River justice.
So she's released into the custody of the sheriff and his wife while awaiting a decision.
That seems odd. How old is she?
She is either 17 or 18.
That seems odd.
Contradictory evidence based on which newspaper reported which.
Right.
New York Times reported her as 18. And like some other papers said 17 at various points. So in the meantime, waiting for like all these decisions and Supreme Court stuff happening, she starts working at the Rothenhofer Cafe. I'm guessing out that pronunciation.
Wow, that sounds very German.
It's the guy who runs it is Greek.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
And it is in DeWitt, downtown DeWitt, run by a man named Jim Bohatz. I'm guessing at that pronunciation as well. I've never seen it before, and hopefully none of you are named Bohatz or know anybody named Bohatz, because you'll be mad if I'm pronouncing it wrong the rest of the way. Just like when we covered Tony Alamo and called him Alamo.
The whole time. And I was like, Alamo, that's not it. It's it.
I think we were both like, that's
there's
dumb.
No way it's
Tony
Alamo.
Alamo's such a cool name.
It's Alamo.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, well.
And customers would come from miles away just to see Helen, because it's kind of a big deal. And
that a murderer was working at the restaurant?
Well, yeah. That she's a murderer and that she got vengeance on her daddy's killer, and also that, like, this is the age of outlaws. This is like the age of your Frank Nashes, your Slaughters, your Bonnies and Clydes, your Ma Barker gangs. Like, all of them were running around, kind of a
wreaking havoc.
Yeah, wreaking havoc, and there's not a lot of good entertainment going on during the Depression for people,
except for flappers.
Except probably not. That's more of I think that's more of a 20s thing, right?
Oh wait, we're in the 30s and 40s.
Yeah, we're in the part where nobody has money and people are killing themselves because they have no way to live.
Well, that's not as fun. Anyway.
No, the Depression is sad. That's why the outlaws were the most interesting people and the most like celebrated. Because also a lot of them were like, we're going to specifically rob the banks because the banks are foreclosing on people. And so people are like, yeah, screw the banks.
Get my money.
Yeah, stuff like that. But, you know, she's also not a big fan of this drylander life and all that. Kind of stifling, I think. But she becomes friends with a coworker named, this is another one I'm going to have to guess at, Ina, I-N-A.
Sounds like Ina, because my grandma's name was Ida.
Yeah, so Ina Mayberry. They become friends. And
that's the most adorable name, Ina Mayberry.
She lives in an apartment above the diner. And eventually, during all this stuff, they give Helen a little more freedom while they're waiting, like the Supreme Court appeals and all this stuff. Waiting for hopefully a pardon. They allow her to move into that apartment with Ina as like her roommate for a while, so she doesn't have to stay at the sheriff's house.
It's good.
And but her boss was not a cool guy. He was kind of a bad guy, in fact, I would say. His name Jim Bohatz there. He was very quick to anger. Quite the drinker. Well, and he found all the attention that Helen was getting to be kind of annoying. Like, of course
he did.
Even though it's like probably driving more business, but
yeah, exactly.
But I think he was like kind of jealous. Like, I don't like all these.
Yeah.
He would yell and scream at people, like telling them to get lost. He didn't like those river rats and gawkers and reporters running around.
Okay.
And he was also known to get close to his waitresses.
Ew. That's disgusting.
And in a non-consensual way. Like kind of like, you know, feel him up and yeah.
Ugh.
So he's a bad guy.
Wait, I think I know where this is going.
So he would try and get Helen to come with him. He was trying to get her to go on a car ride with them.
Don't do it.
You know, just like clear the air. Let's have a chat about all this stuff going on.
Helen, don't do it.
I got a nice car. Let's go. Let's just take a drive.
Oldest line in the book.
It'll give us some privacy to have real talk. There's none of these river rats running around. None of that stuff.
She says, I am a river rat.
Yeah. The next morning, he is found dead.
It went where I thought it was going.
2 police officers arrive at the restaurant to inform Ina and Helen that this Jim Bohatz fella had been murdered.
Oh, what?
He'd been shot.
What?
She was taken for questioning, as you'd imagine.
Yeah.
She said she didn't know anything.
Of course.
And he had been discovered in his car, parked beside a tree just outside of town, which was a well-known, this is the term they use, trysting spot.
Trysting
spot's the term.
A lover's lane.
A lover's lane. Mm-hmm. Yep, I wrote that down too to make sure I remembered.
Look at you.
Yeah. So it's basically it's a makeout spot or whatever.
Or whatever.
It's a murdering spot
AKA,
now.
AKA a murder spot.
In our stories, it usually is.
Yep.
But that case ends up going cold.
Oh.
And since Bohats was universally disliked, people are kind of like, he probably deserved it anyway.
They let it go cold.
They just kind of moved on.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Get DNA evidence? Nah.
This is the 40s, people.
You can't track their cell phone. You got nothing.
Got nothing.
So, eventually, because there's a lot of political shenanigans going on, because people have a lot of sympathy for her.
Yeah.
And what happened, she saw her father be murdered.
She got justice.
Her stepmother got murdered, and she went and got justice for herself. So she's able to get a plea deal. Instead of the first-degree murder charge, she receives 2 years at the women's prison in Jacksonville for manslaughter.
Is that still there?
Probably not. So Jacksonville, for those who know, is probably about 15 minutes north of Little Rock, roughly.
Fairly centrally located.
Yeah. The Air Force Base there is called Little Rock Air Force Base. So it's close enough to Little Rock they would do that. Mm-hmm. And the sentence was what are words? The prison was nicknamed the Pea Farm, like the vegetable.
Oh, okay. Woo.
Because this is back in the day when they would make prisoners work a farm and not pay them. Again, we have a word for that. And she began her sentence on October 11th, 1932. Due to her her fame and notoriety, she was not forced to work the farm like the other prisoners.
I'd be a little ticked.
I think they liked her though at the prison, at least the other female prisoners. On May 31st, 1933, the state's prosecuting attorney George Hartje, I don't know how to say this one either. I'm guessing Hartje or something. It's Hartje.
Hartje?
Maybe that's it.
Or Hartje?
Hartje. It's probably Hartje or something like that.
Hartje.
So he was trying to get Helen paroled. Get her on parole. Get her out of there. He writes a letter to the parole board. He says, I recommend that she be instructed not to return to Arkansas County to live where she was from, because she was suspected of killing another man after the above killing for which she was sentenced. Dang. And then it continues, but upon investigation by the grand jury, I am thoroughly convinced she did not do it. So a few days later, Helen is released from prison. She did not return to Arkansas County because she wasn't supposed to. Mm-hmm. And she even said that she wanted to start all over again, go somewhere where no one knows her. So she moves to Little Rock, the one true city of Arkansas, and begins working as a waitress using an alias. She's not using her real name anymore. So she's hanging out in Little Rock for a bit here. Mm-hmm. But less than 2 weeks later, on June 15th, 1933, she put on her nicest dress, walked into the Little Rock police station, and confessed to the murder of Jim Bohats.
Oh, she did?
Yeah. She said that the killing had, quote, preyed on her mind since it occurred.
Aw.
So she talked about his unwanted advancements and harassment. She said that if she didn't go along with the harassment, that he said he was going to kill somebody close to her.
What?
And she didn't say who that person was.
Was it her roommate, you think?
I don't know. Potentially them, or maybe one of the, there's one of the river people would come in every once in a while. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's them. Could be anybody. So she decided to accept his offer of going on a drive to supposedly talk things over, clear the air. And he drives up to this trysting spot. And the term they say in the book, which is, I believe this part came from a newspaper article, I think from the Memphis Commercial. Mm-hmm. Commercial Appeal. It may have just been commercial at the time. I don't remember. Anyway, it's from a paper. And it says that he began pawing over her.
Ugh.
Right? And so she tried to get him to leave the car to check on the motor, because I think that's the excuse he used for pulling over the car. Is like, oh no, the motor, gotta stop.
She's like, you gonna check it or not?
Yeah. you should check. You should go out and check it. And he was like, oh, I can't get it to start, even though he clearly didn't try. Like he didn't do anything.
He blinked at it.
Like I don't think he even got out of the car. Is what it said. So that's when Helen reaches into the car pocket where she knew he kept a pistol, and grabbed it and shot him in the chest.
Wow.
And then as she's stepping out of the car, she turns back and shoots him 2 more times.
Okay, that's a bit much.
Well,
bit much.
She said, I thought he might not die. So she wanted him to die.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was like, I got to make sure he's dead.
Wow.
This is a problem if he's not.
Well, I mean, who else? Okay, yeah.
So she's basically going to be, she's sent back to Arkansas County to answer for this crime. She's indicted for 2nd-degree murder, waived her right to counsel.
Oh.
And she is going to be sentenced to 10 years hard labor with no chance of parole for 3.5 years. So she goes back to Jacksonville, up to the P farm. And this time...
The PEA farm, not the
Yes.
PEE farm.
Not the urine farm. No, this is like a farm.
Okay.
Like they even talk about a strawberry patch and later on in the book, and there's a part where she's like farming sweet potatoes or something like that.
Wonder what they had for dinner.
Probably not that. That was for selling, so that the farm could try and make money.
True.
That's back in those days, and also sometimes these days.
Mm-hmm.
So the sole guard on staff at this little women's prison was a man named Frank Martin. He was a trustee. You might remember those from the Frank Jelly Nash episode, where basically trustees was a system where they would get prisoners to act as the guards.
Oh, good.
And they would give them like lighter sentences and stuff like that. He was serving a 21-year sentence for shooting and killing an unarmed man. He's cool.
He seems like a good guy.
So yeah, if you've listened to the Frank Jelly Nash episode, you've heard a little bit about these trustee people. It's not a great system.
No.
It is, I think in some places it lasted until like the 80s, like Texas.
What? No way.
It did not last that long in Arkansas. So Helen and the other prisoners, they'd work the fields. They'd work it from dawn till dusk. Hard
labor.
And
unpaid.
Yeah, the prison was understaffed, as you'd imagine. There's one main guard there. The fence around the prison, I would say it's less than impressive, it sounds like. The description in the book is hodgepodge.
Oh.
Yeah, it is a hodgepodge thing. So, September 12th, 1933, Helen sees a hole in the fence, and she's just like, I'm going for it.
See you later.
It's like she just saw it and was like, you know what?
This is it.
I'm going for it.
This is my time.
But sadly, she would be caught. Or not sadly, depending on how you look at it, because she did kill 2 people.
Yeah.
None of them in, I guess you wouldn't say cold blood.
No.
It wasn't like she was just like, I love...
Shoot them while they sleep.
Yeah, it's not like she's like, I murder people and I love doing murdering. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. So, when she was caught, she was to be given 10 lashes.
With the whip?
Yeah, a leather strop, as they call it. I think they call it the black snake.
Lord.
And
terrifying.
Yeah, 10 lashes, and she is a very small person. She's like 5'1". So, this is as you'd imagine, they call this the method of correction.
Yeah.
So she's going to be stripped naked, spread eagle, and flogged 10 times with the leather strop there.
Oh my.
On September 18th, so this is on the 12th, 6 days later, she escapes yet again.
Wow.
This time, she makes it as far as the Arkansas River, which is basically about the 15 minutes I said from Little Rock that Jacksonville is. Using today's standards, I imagine it sounds like she maybe walked there, so it would have been longer.
Yeah.
But she gets there, and the Arkansas River is not like the White River.
No.
The Arkansas River is much larger.
Yeah.
You cannot go swimming in the Arkansas River.
It's very, very rough.
By the time it is in central Arkansas, it's one thing if you're up in Colorado where it starts. You can go White River rafting and stuff. I've done it. It's awesome.
Oh, really?
Up in Canyon City, Colorado.
On the Arkansas River?
Yep.
How cool.
Yeah. But by the time it gets to Central Arkansas, Little Rock
is big.
It is a death sentence if you try swimming in it.
The current is so swift. It's like
there's the current, the undertow.
Yeah, the undertow. Yeah.
So very different from the White River where she's from.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, I can't swim in that.
I'm gonna do that.
I can't get on the roads because they're being watched.
Uh-huh.
And eventually she's going to be captured again on the banks of the Arkansas River.
Yeah.
We don't know. This is where this is going to get even sadder, I think, more depressing this episode.
Why?
Oh, you'll see why. Because, I'll tell you why. Because prisons in 1930s Arkansas and America in general, probably mostly Arkansas and the West,
pretty bad.
Not a good time. So this is going to be very depressing.
Okay.
It's not going to be the reading this book I was like, this is going to be a fun time. There's going to be a murder, and then there's vengeance for the murder in the middle of the courtroom. It's a wild, way crazy story. And now it's super sad.
Okay.
In more ways. We don't know the supposed correction she faced for the second escape attempt.
Mm-hmm. But
it had to have been brutal because in the aftermath, she contracted a fever and like an infection. One of the ideas is that's possibly a kidney infection that she's suffering from.
Was she raped?
Or beaten? We don't have any evidence of rape, but something happened to her. And her condition worsened to the point that the prison sent word to DeWitt, which is about as close as you can get.
That like the nearest hospital or something is?
Well, it's where you could be like, hey, lawyer who is in the area who can handle the effects of like people's personal effects and informing family members in the area, they'd be in DeWitt.
Stupid question. Yeah. Antibiotics, a thing by now. Yes, they are.
Okay.
I'm thinking yes, they are.
We will actually talk about some of the medicines.
Oh.
That are going to be involved in this this whole ordeal here.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to your input.
Okay. My medical brain is already thinking.
Yeah. So basically, they send a letter to a lawyer in DeWitt.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, hey, let her uncle know and family members who are left. Like, she's maybe going to die.
Wow.
We don't have a record of that exact letter, but we do have a record of the letter that was sent from the lawyer to the prison. And he basically is like, we're unable to reach the uncle. He lives on the river.
There is no mailbox.
There's like no way to get to him right now other than through the river at the moment. And I'm a drylander, dang it. I can't do it.
I'm not a lubber.
I'm not a landlubber. He is a landlubber. He's a drylander.
The other one.
A river person.
Sure, yeah.
The river people is what they were called.
Okay.
Delivering river justice. But yeah, they just can't get to her uncle at this time. But the letter is like, her sister Edie lives in Oklahoma. This is the last address I have for her, so maybe you can send something to her.
Yeah. And
her illness continues, Helen. They have some prison records. At this point, she is prescribed sodium benzoate. What you got? What you got for me?
Sodium benzoate. You're going to make me Google it.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what I wrote down from the book.
Okay.
It says it's used to treat high levels of ammonia, which is indicative of kidney damage and potential organ failure.
Yes. So, what did you say? Ammonia? Yeah. Well, your kidneys are in charge of clearing up your blood. Ammonia levels. The ammonia is a prominent component of urine, and so obviously those levels are going to go up if your kidneys aren't working because they're infected.
Okay. So yeah.
What did you call it? Sodium benzoate?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna Google it.
Okay, have you ever heard of digitalis? I'm guessing at the pronunciation. Digitalis.
Is that like digoxin?
I don't know. It just says it was a heart medication.
Yeah, digoxin.
Okay, and so she was given that as well.
That's weird. I wonder why. Because I think it slows your heart rate down.
It might. It does say something in the book about like if her pulse reaches over a certain thing, give her this.
So all these signs are pointing to sepsis to me. Multi-level organ failure. She has an infection that's raging. It's untreated. The body's going to start shutting down. Kidneys start shutting down. Heart rate goes up really high. Blood pressure goes down really low with sepsis. Septic shock. So that makes sense. They want to give her digoxin. You can get ditch poisoning real easy if you don't keep an eye on it.
Interesting. We've got more.
Okay.
It's going to be real fun.
Oh, boy.
So we know also from prison records, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. on September 30th, she was given at least 5 enemas.
Oh, Lord.
And
that could be an attempt to bring down, like, so...
she does have a fever at this time.
Well, not a fever.
Okay.
So, again, with the organ failure, if your kidneys aren't filtering like they should, you can get really high levels of potassium. You have enemas because... So electrolytes follow water. So if you have really high potassium and you get an enema, you're flushing out a bunch of like water, basically like water from your bowels. And so that is, the potassium is going to follow the water, and the sodium is going to follow the water. So that can bring those levels down, which can,
And keep in mind, she's being treated at this like little hodgepodge prison.
I cannot believe she is not like dead right now.
And yeah, so a few days later, October 2nd, she slips into, it puts it in quotes, a coma. So maybe
She's
coma is not the exact right
in and
word.
out of consciousness.
Yeah. And she had received more enemas as well as douches, and what is described as a significant amount of morphine. The number they give is 1.5 grams in less than 3 hours.
I
don't know if that's significant.
10 milligrams, I think, is a normal dose. So 1.5
whole grams.
Yeah, whole grams.
That seems like a lot.
She stopped breathing.
I think at this point they're kind of like, she maybe is going to die, so we're just going to like
comfort
help her
care.
with her.
Yeah, comfort care.
October 3rd, the next day. So her fever at this point is 101.
Eee.
Next day, she received more enemas and morphine and all this. Her fever rises to 103 degrees.
Oh, she's not doing so good.
So then they finally move her to a hospital.
Oh, good.
The hospital is in Beebe, which these days is about 15 minutes north of Jacksonville. It's like 30 minutes away from the Little Rock area.
I hear bad people teach at BB. Anyway.
I liked all the people I saw, but that was a different thing.
Different school.
Don't worry about it.
Different school.
Yeah. They were all, everybody there was like, let me give some high praise to ASU BB, regardless of how I do in my further academic endeavors. The people there who work at ASU BB are very nice, very understanding, and very kind, and at least all the ones I dealt with. So big fan of ASU BB specifically.
Yay.
So yeah, she's moved to this hospital in BB. She receives a medicine called Alumnol.
What?
So yeah, I'm glad you're confused.
Let me see it. Spell it for me.
Alumnol.
Aluminol?
I guess so. So they say
that is not a medicine that is used nowadays. I can tell you that.
Well, the book says it seems to be a trade name for a medicine that had alum in it.
Aluminon.
This is alumnol. It could have been a misspelling, but basically it has alum in it. ALUM.
Hey, you use that in canning.
Oh, do you?
Alum. It's what gives pickles their like crispy kind of taste.
It also induces vomiting.
I can see that, because if you breathe in alum, I want to throw up.
I even checked this out because I was like, it sounded weird to me, but I wanted to try and Google all this stuff. But yeah, it's like a medicine. It seems to be a medicine that was meant to induce vomiting.
That's an emetic.
Well, all right.
Like anti-emetic is Zofran, so an emetic is what induces vomiting.
So she's in this hospital vomiting, I guess.
She probably needs to. I don't know. Her electrolytes right now are so screwed, right? Like she is. I don't know how she's alive right now.
Well, guess what?
What?
She stayed alive. October 7th, she is released from the hospital. She is A-OK.
How did that happen?
I don't know. People were stronger
No antibiotics.
back then.
No antibiotics.
As far as I can tell.
Here's why I asked about the rape thing. Because I have two different trains of thought. Okay, we're going to talk about health. We're talking about reproductive health and stuff right now. Prepare your minds. Prepare your ears. Here we go. So, like, if you... Women should urinate after coitus to help prevent urinary tract infections, because if you don't, the bacteria and stuff can flow up towards your bladder and into your kidneys, and that's bad. You don't want that. Or so maybe that's why I asked about the rape thing, or she was left in a cell and had soiled herself maybe was left to soil herself, and she was in like dirty undergarments, and of course that gets in the urinary tract and goes up and does the same thing, gets into the bladder and the kidneys.
Well, and it's hard to say because there's no record of what this supposed correction was.
How convenient.
Right. The rape thing would not surprise me.
Wow.
Let's continue.
Oh no. Why?
It's like the next story.
Oh my
next
God.
Part of the story.
Okay.
So it would not surprise me if that maybe was a thing.
Okay.
And there are certainly allegations in there's like a sensational crime magazine that will eventually cover this story in the future. Yeah. Not in the future from us, but the future from when the story took place.
Of course, yeah.
And
we are not time travelers.
They make accusations like that, but they also make some other stuff that is just wildly wrong.
Okay. So take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and I might cover that a little bit, but they cover it more in the book in a better way probably than I could.
Okay.
But yeah. So Helen, she's no longer allowed to work in the field because, she keeps
died.
trying to run. Well, she keeps trying to run away too.
Also that.
And they're like, you don't get to do that anymore. So now she's working in the prison laundry, and she was told by a friend of hers. There's a friend she made with in this prison named Catherine. Mm-hmm. Catherine was technically a federal prisoner.
Oh.
And she was good. So she had like more privileges than the other ones because she was supposed to be transferred away and stuff because she wasn't under the auspices of the state as much as she was the feds.
Right.
So I think maybe the state was like, we got to be nice because she might tell on us and how bad we are.
Gotcha. That's
my guess. That's a bit of a reckless speculation right there.
I think that's a good guess.
But she had a little more privilege, and she overheard at some point that some of the younger women were going to be transported to Memphis where they'd be forced to prostitute themselves.
Oh, no.
By the prison. So that's why I think maybe this rape thing, maybe there's something to it.
Maybe she contracted a sexually transmitted disease, and that could again same thing travel into the bladder, into the kidneys. And
so like most of the women ignored this. They're like, that's a dumb story. Who would do such a horrible thing? The answer is, some of the people running this prison.
No way.
Because it turns out the story was true. A group of the women were taken by bus headed for Memphis, including Helen. And the bus pulled into a station in West Memphis before they got to regular Memphis. So they're still on the Arkansas side of things. Mm-hmm. And Helen is like, can I use the ladies' room? And of course, they make the mistake of trusting her. Because, and so here's the thing. She was a skilled seamstress. Like she could sew real well. Mm-hmm. So when she heard this story about potentially being prostituted out, she came up with a plan.
Oh, God.
Where, those napkins that are like checkered red and white?
Yeah.
Gingham, I think is what it's called.
Gingham, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's like, there's fabric like that. There's dresses or shirts, whatever, that look like that. So what she started doing, she would take those napkins and she sewed them into the lining of her prison dress. And then she went to the ladies' room, flipped it inside out, so it just looks like she has a regular dress, and just walked off.
Shut up.
She just walked off from the rest stop.
Is this before or after hospitalization?
This is after the hospitalization and before they could be prostituted. So her escape means the prostitution thing is off because they got to go find her now.
Oh, God. Man, that's tricky.
That's
pretty smart.
I like these old-timey people. They were always escaping from jail.
They were very creative.
All of them were just running off.
Always.
Nash escaped a billion times. Slaughter escaped. I don't know.
Anyway.
I think the Slaughter one where he acted like he had smallpox, that might be the best one.
That was
this
pretty
is number
gnarly.
2 in my book.
That was pretty gnarly. Yeah, this is good. This was very simple and creative.
Just wild. She made it as far as Brinkley before they caught her. These days, Brinkley's on I-40 on the way to Memphis.
Yeah.
It's like an hour away. So she's on foot probably this whole way without the benefit of the interstate, or maybe with the benefit of the interstate in the sense that it might be harder to find her. I don't know.
She probably just followed the river.
Yeah. So she is sentenced to 10 lashes once again.
Damn, girl.
But again, she did stop this prostitution plan, even if that wasn't like the entire idea.
Right.
Her idea was, I got to get away. I don't know if that was an intended consequence there. So the prison, they're tired of dealing with her because she's always
just go, just get out, okay, just go.
Well, they requested that she be sent to the state hospital for nervous diseases.
Nervous diseases.
A psychiatric hospital.
Is it a ladies' hospital?
I don't know if it was necessarily a ladies' hospital at this time, and I know it's not now. It is now called the Arkansas State Hospital. It is still a psychiatric facility of sorts.
In Little Rock.
It is in Little Rock, the one true city of Arkansas. If you drive by on the interstate by where UAMS is, there's like a zillion buildings.
Yes.
It's one of the buildings in there. One of the smaller ones, I think.
It's actually the Little Rock Zoo now.
How dare you? They did UAMS took over where Ray Winder Field used to be. That's a parking lot now.
Oh yeah.
And that's like right by the zoo.
Yeah,
so it's very nearby.
That's why they're right next to each other. So
Yeah.
I was like,
I like that they left the old scoreboard up though from where Ray Winder Field.
That's
pretty cool. Yeah.
That's cool. I like the new stadium though.
Oh, it's way better. And it's a way better spot. Like it makes for a way better game day.
Totes.
I do miss some of the like crappy. There's something about crappy old timey stuff that's kind of fun though. There's just something to it. I don't know.
Just nostalgia.
Yeah, people will have nostalgia for literally anything.
It's true.
Like just the most garbage stuff.
Macaroni and cheese, craft only.
Yeah, like just even worse stuff. Even stuff that's
SpaghettiOs with Frank.
That's just I tried, can't do it, won't do it. So yeah, they eventually ship her off to this hospital for the Looney Tunes.
And they were like, "You're fine, go home."
Eventually they were like, "Listen, I said Looney Tunes. That's offensive."
You jerk.
Yeah, it is. They call it nervous diseases, which is like such a weird thing.
Very dated term.
Yeah, we'll have more. So she gets there on December 5th. On December 14th, the hospital's chief of staff requests that she gets shoved back to the prison.
Oh.
He diagnosed her with constitutional psychopathic inferiority.
Whatever that is.
It is a term that is later shortened to inferiors. And it's basically just like trying to come up with a sciencey word for people who struggle in society. Criminals get lumped into this.
What a derogatory term.
Yeah, it's the kind of, they mentioned in the book it was created by a German psychiatrist.
There we go.
And it was used by some other people who maybe came into power in the 1930s to get rid of people. In Germany, people, if you know what I'm talking about.
I think I'm picking up what you're talking about.
Yeah,
you mean Oral Redenbacher?
That's Oval Redenbacher.
Oh,
of the Oval Office.
No. Anyway, go ahead.
So they ship her back to the prison, and Helen Ruth Spence here, she's going to suffer even more inhumane treatment. The Attorney General, not the Attorney General, that's my bad.
Not the Attorney
His initials are AG, so I kept thinking Attorney General as I read the book.
Arkansas governor.
He was he was the superintendent of the prison system.
Oh.
It's just every time
of the state prison. Oh, okay.
I always saw AG and my brain went Attorney General. But no, those are just his first initials.
Stop.
That's back when people did that all the time. So according to him, his recommendation for dealing with her is that she was not to have any privileges of any sort. The only thing she was to do was basically work the field, come back, eat, and then when she's done eating in the dining room, she's to be searched, and then she'd be placed in a small wooden cage. It was 6x10.
What?
Yeah, 6x10 cage. And so, like, you can't move around or anything.
You can just, like, lay down.
Essentially. And fun fact, the cage was placed in direct sunlight.
What?
Where it would reach over 100 degrees in the summer.
So she couldn't even, like, go to sleep at night or what?
I mean, eventually, the sun goes away, but that's brutal.
Wow.
When it's daytime.
Would she be in there during the day?
During parts of the day, I guess. I guess if she's not directly working.
She would be in there.
Or eating in the dining room, yeah. That's where they would put her. In fact, it talks about, like, her skin got a lot darker because she was sitting in the sun so much.
But she got skin cancer.
I mean, maybe she could have had the chance to someday. Who's to say?
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Tuesday, July 10th, 1934. And there's also more stuff in the book where there's, like, a doctor who visited and was like, you do not put her in that cage ever again. But obviously they didn't listen.
Wow.
So she's working the farm, and she has a fainting spell.
Heat stroke?
I guess so. Or she was faking it, or, women back then, they was always fainting, it seems like.
Shut up.
They were in movies, though, weren't they? It seems like it. And I don't know how much of that is, like, influenced by, like, if that was, like, a social thing where they're like,
oh help me.
My stars and garters. Like, or how much of that is, like, just influenced. Yeah, how much of that is women were socially expected to do that, or if that was, or if it was like...
Or it could be she was working in the field in 100-degree weather.
It could be that. Or maybe she was full of it, who's to say?
Oh, okay.
In this situation.
Oh, no.
So she's given permission to return to the what they called the big house, the main building of the prison.
Gotcha.
To retrieve some medicine. And when she returns, she makes another break for it. She scales over the fence.
Nice.
Frank Martin, the prison superintendent, whose name is V.O. Brockman. It's another person with first two initials.
Oh, okay.
V.O. Brockman. Yeah. And his son, Will, they go after her.
Yeah.
They eventually find her. She had been spotted, like, sleeping under a tree.
Ugh.
And they get there. Frank Martin's got himself a shotgun.
No way.
Frank Martin, the trustee, who is not to be trusted because
he's also a convict.
And he murdered an unarmed man.
Wow.
And all that. But they decided to let him be in charge of things. And their story is that he approached her from behind while the Brockmans approached from elsewhere, from up a hill. Mm-hmm. And then the Brockmans hear the sound of gunfire. And Helen had been shot once through the back of her head.
Oh, my gosh.
And the people who went to get her, Martin and the Brockmans, they claimed that she had shot herself.
How are you going to shoot yourself in the back of the head? No, it is not. No.
I just pointed, like, with my hands.
You couldn't even do it.
What do you mean you can't do it?
How are you going to... I mean, if it's a shotgun, how are you going to do it to the back of your head?
She supposedly did it with a revolver.
It's still very... Why not just right through the front? It's a lot more simple there.
I don't know.
This is not advice on how to kill yourself. This is just... That's totally
I've never seen a movie where a person put it to their forehead. They put it to, like, their temple all the time in movies.
Well, yeah, or you could do it here or here. I mean, the front of your face is going to be a lot easier if you're going to do it. That is a lie. Bold-faced. Where'd she get a gun from?
Well, their claim was that she had somehow unlocked the door where Frank Martin stayed and stole his revolver.
No.
And when Martin approached, he was like, "Stick 'em up," or whatever he probably said.
Yeah.
And she put the gun to her head and pulled the trigger.
In the back of her head, because that makes sense. No.
I don't know. Anyway. However, as I wrote in my bullet points, it is all caps. However,
okay,
with an exclamation point. When they examine Helen's body, it is found that the gun that she had a gun.
Okay.
It was this revolver, but it was stuck under her clothes with the butt of the gun held in place by an undergarment.
So it's like there's no way she could have gotten to it.
And she certainly, unless they decided to put it back, why would it be there?
Yeah, 100%.
And why would they have put it back? That doesn't make any sense. And they claim that there was a note in her cell that read, "To whom it may concern, I'll never be taken alive."
Okay, sure. When
compared to a previous signature, it was found that the note did not match her handwriting.
You don't say.
So an investigation is called. They're like, this seems sketchy. And in the meantime, Helen's body is placed on public display.
Why?
I don't know. They did this with Slaughter. I think they did this with I don't know if they did this with Nash, but they definitely did it with Slaughter, where they're like, Come look at the outlaw. Check out his body.
Come look at this outlaw. He's different than us.
I think they did this with Bonnie and Clyde as well.
I think you're right.
I guess that's what you did in the Depression. Like,
that's weird.
I don't know. Bad times.
Yeah.
It's called the Depression for a reason.
Yes,
it was very depressing.
It was a dark time.
I wouldn't want to live through it, but I love reading about it. That's how I'm going to look at
just like
my life.
Just like medieval times.
Yeah, it's like if throughout my life, if people look back and go like, "This isn't interesting," I'll be like, "Sweet, sweet." But if they look back and they're like, "That time was wild. It was crazy. It's so interesting. There's so many wild stories," and be like, "Yeah, I probably
bad too.
I was probably one of the people who got murdered during that time. I don't know." So, Yeah, they put her on public display in North Little Rock, which I don't understand.
Yeah, weird.
They did the same when her body was moved to DeWitt.
So weird.
Frank Martin, he's charged with murder.
Oh, good.
The assistant superintendent, that V.O. Brockman, he is charged as an accessory to murder. The idea seems to be that they intentionally left the door open to this Frank Martin's room so that she would try and get her to go in there. Yeah. Get his gun and run. Because witnesses claim that when she was leaving, basically she was just walking.
Nobody tried to stop her.
Yeah, it was she was walking, and they were like, "Hey, you stop!" And she looked back and was like, "Nah," and she kept walking. And they didn't do anything until she got out.
Gotcha.
So it's very sketchy.
Yeah.
So the eventually though, the superintendent of the Arkansas penal system, this A.G. Stedman, the one I kept wanting to call Attorney General.
Yeah.
He ends up resigning because people are pissed at him because of this whole thing.
Yeah.
Because part of it is the trustee system.
Yeah.
Because I found an article that mentioned how 34 prisoners had been killed in 18 months by these trustees. So his replacement comes in and is like, no more of this.
Good.
So Arkansas got off that game pretty quick. I guess.
That's good.
Yeah. The book mentions some other Arkansas prison stuff that happens later that maybe makes you feel less good, but that's fine.
Oh boy.
That's not for here. That's for when you read this book. And Brockman and his wife was technically the superintendent of the prison because a woman had to be in charge of it.
Gotcha. But she didn't do anything.
It didn't seem like she did a whole lot necessarily.
Yeah.
Not as much as him.
Yeah.
And he was technically the assistant superintendent.
Gotcha.
They're both fired.
Good.
Frank Martin, however, he is going to be acquitted.
Shut up.
Because of the law which allowed for the killing of escaping convicts.
I hope that law's changed.
Or at least interpreted differently.
Yes.
Because so they talk about...
It's okay if they're aggressively assaulting you with a weapon, but she wasn't.
Yeah. So, and with that, V.O. Brockman, his charges are also dropped for accessory to murder. It probably sucked for all of them, though, because it was the Depression, and they suddenly had no jobs.
Oh, boy, yeah.
But Frank Martin, he's going to go off and become a tenant farmer, which is a bad time, it sounds like. And also, when there's a witness testimony, which I didn't fully cover here, because it's very long, and you can read the book, but it mentions that when they went to go get Helen, Frank has a shotgun. She clearly could not have shot herself with her gun.
Right.
And it was not a shotgun blast that killed her. But Brockman's son was carrying a pistol with him when they went out.
Oh, he shot her.
Potentially. But yeah, that is the story of Helen Ruth Spence.
Wow, Andrew, that was quite the tale.
It is wild. I hope I did justice as best I could.
Did you enjoy reading the book?
I did. The book is it's pretty, like I said, it's a breeze. It's not very long.
Yeah.
And I think it starts off maybe a little slow, but I think all books start off slow, it feels like.
Yeah.
But once you get into it, it's just well, I gotta keep going. What's going to happen next?
What's going to happen? Is this real life? Yes.
Yes.
It is, unfortunately.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, trustee system was a bad idea.
Glad that's gone.
Yeah, and also don't use prisoners as slaves.
Let's also work on prison reform.
Yeah, it's better now, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily good.
Yeah, it's not good. Not good.
But that is all for that. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff I'm leaving out. If you want to really get into it, but that book is...
You hit the high points.
Yeah, I think there's a Kindle version of that book. I rented it from the library, and for some reason it didn't let me use a Kindle version, so I had to read it on my iPad. That part was annoying.
Weird.
But other than that, check it out. It is Daughter of the White River, Depression Era Treachery and Vengeance in the Arkansas Delta by Denise Parkinson.
Thank you, Miss Parkinson. All right. Very good. Well, Andrew, are you looking at anything lately?
I didn't look at a whole lot this week. The only thing I can think of is that I finished Star Wars Rebels. I don't think I finished it last week. So it's been a while since I finished it. It's been long enough.
Okay.
But I finished it. It's fine.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I would recommend Clone Wars over that. Maybe there's a few episodes of Rebels that are really good, but overall, it's kind of a whatever show. It's not nearly as good as Clone Wars.
Okay. But
maybe look up like, hey, these are the 4 episodes you should watch, and
Gotcha.
that's it. I don't know. That's all I got though, until the end of the episode.
Well, I want to address something that we're debating last week. We didn't know the difference. We're like, is it Awana or Kiwanis or Awanis? Okay, thank you, Faith, for clarifying. She said Awana is the club you did at church when you were a kid. I don't even know what the basis of it is. I don't remember. But Awana was the little kids club at church. Kiwanis is like an adult, like a social club. Like it's like they volunteer for a lot of stuff. They do a lot of charitable stuff. So anyways, we were both kind of right. We were just wrong. So that is the difference between Awanas and Kiwanis.
I mean, we were right in the sense that we knew that they were both things, and at least one of them was church-based.
Yes.
That's about all we got right.
So we got that. So that's it. And then, of course, spoiler, we watched WandaVision this week.
Okay, yeah. We'll just... Do you want to give your quick, like, one-sentence, non-spoiler review?
This is when that character that's been talked about was revealed, and the plot definitely thickened. Like, because, we talked about the first 2 episodes where it was like 50, 60 stuff, and I was like, not really into this. And then it got better, but this one was like, it revealed quite a bit, I think, and left you hanging.
So what was the process? It was like the first 3 were basically all regular sitcom episodes.
Well, the third one, you were like,
the third one
weird.
Had an ending where a thing happened. Yeah.
You're like, third one, wow, something is wrong here.
Yeah. And then the 4th one was all that.
Right.
And I was glad we got to know stuff, but I wasn't as big a fan of that.
Yeah.
And so episode 5 is a mixture, and it's been my favorite episode so far.
Me too.
That's my review. Now we're going to do spoilers because there's no other way to talk about the show.
There isn't.
How about that episode?
How about it? We meet
We meet Baby Vision.
We meet 2 Baby Visions, really.
No, we meet Baby Vision in the intro.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
I could not... That intro was so funny.
It was funny. But we also, the kids grow up very quickly.
And she has no power over them, which is pretty weird.
She doesn't have any power. So,
also, Agnes. What's Agnes up to?
Yeah,
she's a sketchy character.
I need to know who Agnes is and what she's up to.
And as I've said before, as I said last week, Katherine Hahn should be in more things.
She's great.
She is a delight.
And of course, John called this who the surprise character would be, which it kind of was hinting at it in the previous episodes. Are we doing it? Are we saying it?
Yeah, we already said spoilers.
The character is
Quicksilver from X-Men.
It's X-Men version.
From the Fox X-Men movies.
It's the Evan Peters version, not the other guy from the Marvel movies.
Not the guy who just got shot in the back and then we stopped caring about him.
Yeah, not that one. It's Pietro. Oh, her accent comes back when she comes out of the hex.
Yes. There's a lot of stuff's happening.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens. And Wanda says, stay away, stay out of my life. And so she kind of admits that this is kind of her thing. But is it? Because she's like, I don't remember doing this.
Seemingly, I think she's obviously being manipulated in some fashion.
By somebody or someone. I think it's Katherine Hahn.
I think so too. Because and also they get that dog.
Yeah.
And then the dog dies.
And
Katherine Hahn's the one who finds it.
Quote unquote.
And it's really weird though. Because Wanda's like, oh, we can't reverse death. That's what you did to Vision, though, isn't it? Or is it?
And then they're like, and she said something about bringing back her brother. Or she thought about bringing back her brother. Like, she had flashbacks, and she's like, you can't do that. There's just things you can't do. But she did bring Vision. But here's the thing. Her powers came from the Mind Stone, did they not? And that was the stone that Vision had placed.
Yeah. So my guess is, he's, sort of alive.
Yes, as long as her powers are intact, I think maybe he's alive.
In some form or fashion.
Right. He said he doesn't have any memory of anything before the Westview. He doesn't have any memories of anything before Westview.
Also, that weird part with Katherine Hahn when she's like,
you want me to take that again?
Yeah.
You want to do another take? That was weird. I was like, what?
It seems it makes it feel like she knows more than the other people do.
Yes. And it makes it seem like, oh, you're in control. You want me to do another take for that? But really, is she the one manipulating it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. And when Vision's like outside of her control too, and is like, I talked to what's his face at the office.
Oh yeah, and the guy was like,
help me, it hurts. She's in my mind.
And who's the she though?
He doesn't
say Wanda.
It doesn't say it's Wanda. That's right.
Could it be Catherine Hahn?
Could it be?
Or even some other person?
Or is Catherine? Yeah, is Catherine Hahn like a vehicle for somebody else?
Like the people who...
Do we think it's Hydra, the infamous enemy?
Oh, I don't know.
Because S.W.O.R.D. does come into it, and S.W.O.R.D. is a sect of S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
Yeah, they usually do space stuff, though. That's outside of the Hydra thing.
Yeah.
So it might be some other thing.
Maybe the Kree, like from... Because Captain Marvel...
Yeah, the Kree, or even Skrulls.
It's true. Because... what's her name?
Monica Rambeau.
Monica Rambeau is, if you in the comics, I was looking at this, is Captain Marvel, is the new Captain Marvel.
And also, if you paid attention, she is the daughter of Captain Marvel's friend from the movie.
From the movie. Yes. That's where,
There's a lot at play. What else happened? Yeah, that guy. So it's like, yeah, who is in control?
And he never said.
They really leaned hard on it being Wanda in this episode, which almost makes me think like,
but they
you're
never
selling
said,
it too hard.
Exactly. They never said for sure that it was Wanda.
So you got what? Episode 6 is coming up next. So we'll have 3 episodes.
Is it episode 6?
I think that's right.
Yeah, there's 8 episodes total in the season.
Yeah, so we've got 3 episodes, and so we'll probably have a big reveal. Another one of some sort.
Next episode.
Of what's going on.
And if this hex should go away, these people get better, what does that mean for Vision? What does that mean for her kids? What does that mean for Quicksilver?
Yeah, the whole kids thing is really weird too, because like I said, she has no control over them. Like she's like, I can't make them go to sleep, right. And then they age themselves up.
Right.
Twice, it seems like.
Yes.
They try to age themselves up when the dog dies.
Don't. She said you can't. You have to feel it.
Which is interesting and hypocritical from her. Mm-hmm. And as we've seen, because she resurrected Vision, seemingly, and seemingly resurrected Pietro, Quicksilver, out of another universe entirely.
But she was like, I didn't do this.
Yeah. I'm curious what else is going to be happening. What else is at play here?
It's technically a part of the same universe.
I mean, yeah. Well, here's the thing. They're doing that show, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I think Wanda's supposed to be in it.
Okay.
So there might be multiverse shenanigans at play.
I see. Also, just want to say Falcon and Winter Soldier, not excited about it.
Well, not compared to this, because like I didn't even watch the trailer, but because
it was on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, wasn't it like halftime?
Something like that.
I was driving to go buy some fried chicken at that point.
I was just like, why are they pushing this? Falcon is such a forgettable character.
I thought he was a good character.
He's mediocre at best. Winter Soldier does play prominent role in multiple movies, so I get it.
Falcon was solid. He was very good character in Winter Soldier specifically.
Yeah,
which I would argue is
the best.
One of the best.
It's usually ranked number 1.
Winter Soldier, 2. Civil War. Yeah. Those are like 2 of the very best of the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Made by the Russo brothers, who are alums of Community. They did the paintball episodes, I believe.
Don't know that one.
Yeah, you should watch them. Just watch the first 3 seasons. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I don't have any good theories or anything. I'm excited to see what happens. My main thing I'm excited for, or my main thing I'm hoping for. Mm-hmm. So there's episode 6. They've shown like the trailer promo for that episode, and they've shown Wanda in her Scarlet Witch costume.
Yes, love it.
And Vision in his old-timey comic costume.
Love it.
And I'm hoping that Quicksilver shows up in his dumb old green unitard with the big old lightning bolt across it as his Halloween costume.
You know, I did read somewhere that Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany had to fight really hard to keep those costumes in there. The nods at their comic book selves.
Yeah.
And they did. And I think it's awesome. I think people will love it. I love it. So...
Yeah, and I really like the show so far. It's
so
very different.
Yes, the first 2 episodes I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, and I really wanted to. But now that it's getting into like story time, I like it a lot better.
And we also saw for episode 6, it looks like it's gonna be like a Modern Family looking thing where they like look at the camera.
Yeah,
like
very
documentary thing.
Yes, very Modern Family looking. Yes.
Which I guess that means we're running up on like the edge of what sitcoms are now, because that's what they've been doing, is going through like the history of sitcoms seemingly.
Yes, very much so.
So you're running up towards the end of it. So now I'm wondering what you have left for the 2 episodes after that.
Yeah, it's going to be revolutionary.
It's gonna be the brand new sitcom from the future.
It's gonna be like Inception. It's gonna be the WandaVision of WandaVision.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm curious to see what exactly is happening. It is they got us.
Yep.
Got us with this weekly release stuff.
It was good. It's kind of like Mandalorian.
It's like Mandalorian, except like Mandalorian doesn't have as much of a mystery as this show is.
It's true. It's more of a story. This is more
show,
mystery.
There's a lot more of like, what's really going on?
Happen?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Why isn't Catherine Hahn's profile on their little sheet thing that they have outside the world?
It isn't.
Why haven't we seen her husband?
And her kids are not on the profile outside the world either.
There's no other kids.
And there are no other kids.
But there are in the promo for episode 6, I think. So maybe she's conjured up some more kids when she realized, like, oh, right, this world doesn't have kids.
There's no kids.
That's weird. I got to fix that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And, like, we never see her husband. And it's like, is that just, like, there's some old sitcoms where you never met the husband or wife of another character. Like, like Niles from Frasier. You never met his wife. I think Frasier's wife didn't show up on Cheers when he was on that.
Niles
Crane.
You meet his wife.
I don't think you do.
Niles is the brother, right?
Yeah. Isn't it like you never see her?
It's the maid girl.
No, before her.
Oh.
He has a wife or ex-wife, whichever one, that is talked about constantly, but you never see her, I don't think.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. And
we'll figure this out.
I can't remember if Frasier's wife showed up on Cheers, but
I don't think on Cheers, no.
That might have been like a wait for the spinoff thing. But yeah, like that's not totally uncommon from like old sitcoms where you don't see the husband or a wife, whichever one. Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if that's a nod to that or if it's going to be a big deal. That's going to be a big reveal for like a thing.
Niles Crane wife. I'm looking it up now.
Okay. How's it going?
Well, I don't have my glasses on, so I can't see
Oh
anything.
my gosh.
Just let my eyes take a break. Get back on there. Oh boy, this is going to take a while. So maybe not. Maybe not.
We'll just have to. We have no other choice but to accept that I was definitely right.
It says that Niles' first wife is Maris Crane, the haughty anorexic daughter of a wealthy Seattle family who is never seen on the show, despite being referred to in nearly every episode during his relationship with her.
Like I said, yeah.
There you go.
So I think Agnes's husband is going to be, the fact that he's gone is a reference to that we haven't seen him, but I think it may end up being a big thing later.
Could be.
I guess we'll see.
Yep.
Guess we'll see.
Yep. All right. What else you got?
I got nothing.
This has been a long episode, so I'll save everything else for next week.
Okay.
All right. Guys, thanks for sticking with us. We're so glad you did. We appreciate it. Hey, feel free to reach us on Facebook at Paint the Town Dead. You can reach us on Instagram at Paint the Town Dead, all one word. You can reach us on Twitter at PTTDpod. And feel free to email us at pttdpod@gmail.com. We are pretty much on every streaming service plus YouTube. Feel free to listen. Be sure to subscribe. Rate 5 stars on anything you can. Like, share, comment. Any interaction you have with us really helps us out, and we super greatly appreciate it. We drop episodes every Tuesday unless I'm sick or miss a plane ride or we have technological difficulties.
Unless it's Caitlin's fault in general, I would say.
It is my fault. I will take that. I will take that for the team. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
So long.